I'm there.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to meet with us tonight. The rumor mill in Rock Springs seems to be alive and well. And so we appreciate you coming. You can see we're very set up very informally tonight. We're here to answer your questions. I'll kind of give you the purpose again. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to welcome the community to ask questions of trustees and administration, or to provide input on district topics, schools, or departments. We are asking that we, in honor of everybody's time, and also in honor to allow everybody that wants to speak. We will be adhering to the 3-minute rule. And Mr. Gunyon over there behind the glass is our timer. And he gives me a 1-minute signal. He'll just hold up one finger and stuff, meaning that you have 1 minute remaining. So if you would bring your comments to a close quickly, that would be helpful. Okay, I do want to remind people, if a member of the public initiates specific complaints or charges against an employee in order to protect the employee's rights to privacy and due process, the board will only hear those complaints or charges in closed session. The board encourages concerned individuals to file complaints using the appropriate district complaint procedure and appropriate forms, which can be obtained from the district's website. So if your questions are specifically about a person, we would ask you to refrain from making those questions in a public forum. First of all, I'd like to start off because it seems that Monday night there was a misunderstanding. We have used, whenever 4 or more board members gather in one place, it's considered a quorum. And so we have to advertise for a meeting. So anytime that we have a work session or a workshop, we have to advertise for a meeting. And we have used the same procedure for years. So somehow Monday night was misconstrued that the board meeting was going to start at 5 o'clock. And it was the workshop that started at 5 o'clock. So for that misunderstanding, I just wanted to clarify it. Our board meetings start at 6. We will often have workshops. That's an opportunity for us as trustees and Superintendent McGovern to work on things as a board, because we can't just get together any old time. We have to follow the Wyoming Open Meetings Law. So I wanted to clarify that, and I think we're going to take some steps to be sure that misunderstanding does not occur again. So thank you very much for that. I guess, do we want to do introduction, maybe a quick introduction as to who is here? I'm Carol Jellicoe. I'm the board chair. And to my left, go ahead.
Angelica Wood, trustee.
I'm Kari Cochran, trustee.
All right, trustee.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Carrie Ellison. I'm the principal at North Park Elementary.
Good evening, I'm Tina Searle, and I'm one of the principals at Eastside Elementary.
Good evening, I'm Janine Subas. I am the principal at Walnut.
Glenn Subas, principal at Rock Springs High School.
Ron Urban, assistant principal at the junior high.
Dan Celluloid, Director of Facilities.
And Barbara Rosanica, the principal at Farson.
Joe Klingenpill, Director of Transportation.
Scott Duncan, CFO.
Stephanie Tolman, I'm the Chief Information Officer.
I'm Jody Garner, the Chief Academic Officer.
I'm Nicole Bolton, the Human Resource Director.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly McGovern. I'm the Superintendent.
Thank you, everyone. And I wanted to let everybody know we are streaming this, so we may have questions that come virtually. So I would ask that as you ask your questions, if you please come to the microphone, identify yourself, and so that the people online can hear as well. So with that, let's go ahead and start.
Chair Jellicoe, I don't mean to interrupt, but this is Danielle Schumacher. I just wanted to be made known that I am on virtually as well.
Thank you, Danielle. So our fifth trustee, Danielle Schumacher, is online. So thank you, Danielle. Please.
Jessica's
I think it's on.
Jessica Stevens, community member. I was just curious if you had a Kagan timer or a iPad that could be used for the 3-minute timer so that there's clear, transparent communication on the 3 minutes and the speakers can also be aware of their time.
Do we have an iPad or something like that that we could set up and just set up a timer here right in front? Maybe that would be easier. Thank you. So who would like to be first?
Should I address? Okay, I'm not going to address it. I'll just be short. I'm Kelsey Johnson, a teacher at Pilot Butte Elementary. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity, first of all, to listen. I think that's one of the biggest frustrations within the district right now is that people just don't feel like they're being listened to. And I don't come with questions tonight. I just come with one suggestion. My one suggestion is that you come to our buildings. And not to point out anybody or anything, but I've seen Angelica at our building once and she's been put in. I haven't seen anybody else from the board there in a really long time. Kelly, I haven't seen you at our building since August of 2020. And I think a big issue is that people don't feel like there's an opportunity in a informal setting to have a conversation and to be approachable, if that makes sense. Kelly, we just sat in the back and we talked and it was awesome. And you were approachable, but I don't think there's enough opportunities where there is that ability to approach you, to talk about our concerns and to be listened to. Just an example, I know you probably feel like you're overwhelmed. My aunt used to work at a school district in Arizona, and their superintendent, just to kind of give you an idea, they have 40 schools. They have 5 high schools, roughly 30,000 students. And just this week, last week, April 4th, he made his 500th classroom visit within their district. And so it is doable. And so I just encourage that. That is my suggestion. I think that would help a lot if we were able to see you in informal settings and be able to have those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? We're here to answer your questions.
Hi, board. It's Jen Baird, mom of kids out in person. So I do have a couple questions. So one of my main ones is, when are the public comments discussed and worked on? Us as public, we get up here and make it a point to bring our issues to you, and then we see nothing back. We get no feedback when we come up here, and it just seems like we get dismissed as soon as we leave the podium. How do we know that they're getting worked on, and how are we going to find out the results? Something I thought about after you guys implemented using the agenda is maybe next month you can go back on those papers on the agenda and write right there what your answer is to the concerns of the public. We understand that things take time, but it's obvious. I heard you say that the other day, but it's obviously some things can move quickly, as the 3-minute rule and the not reading the comments publicly, that came about pretty quick. So I feel like a whole month to get like an answer to our questions would be more than feasible. And then also a suggestion was maybe making those forms a little bit easier on your guys' website to file your complaints, because I was just looking right now as we were speaking, and I have no idea where to find those forms on the website. So maybe redoing your guys' website so that students, parents, teachers can find those forms quickly and appropriately instead of having them hidden to wherever, and be specific on what those forms are for. Like this is to bring up an issue with a teacher or a staff member, or this is an issue school wide. So that's another one of my suggestions. And then I also had a question. There's a Freedom of Information Act, and we can request emails and stuff like that. So I would like an answer on who would I submit that to find out for emails and stuff like that with the Freedom of Information Act. So those are my questions. If you need me to repeat them, I can, but I'd like some answers.
A couple that I would like to address, okay? First of all, I did announce at the previous board meeting on April 3rd, the change in the written public comment.
Okay.
So I did, even though we did not have a public comment section to the agenda that night,
Okay.
I did announce that we would no longer be reading those, that they would be, if they were submitted, that they would be made part of the agenda after 1 o'clock on the day of the board meeting, so that they're available for the read. And we closed it down a little bit earlier because it used to be 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And we've changed it to 1 o'clock so that the trustees could read them before the board meeting.
Okay.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that wasn't clear. but-
So we did make that announcement, and it was
Okay.
in the written documents as well, where the public comment was, there was a reference to that.
To that they
To-
went-
Yeah, in the
Okay.
written comments. Secondly, as far as the FOIA requests, I received one the other day.
Okay.
And then I forwarded it to Superintendent McGovern. We have time, there are time limits that have to be followed in order to provide that information.
Okay.
So, but it's working days. I think it's 7 working days, isn't it?
Or reasonable.
Or
There's some, yeah.
There's
clauses
some
in
language.
there.
It depends on what the ask is.
Okay.
But you can direct those either to me or to Superintendent McGovern.
Okay.
And then we can make sure that those get answered as well.
Chair Joko, can I
Yes.
make a few comments?
Sure.
So to both of the comments so far, I just want to say a few things. First of all, we're real people just like you guys. We have full-time jobs. We have families at home. I coach sports. I'm involved in about every night of the week, if not multiple nights a week. Some of our trustees live in Wamsutter, some live in Farson. And one of the decisions on that 3-minute rule is that we were meeting in board meetings till 11 or later at night on our school board meeting nights. And it's just truthfully not feasible for us to have these guys traveling in unsafe conditions and being, that late. However, we're here for a reason. We volunteered for this unpaid position because we want to improve the district. We want to do what's best for your students and staff, and we're committed to that. And I do want to say my goal is to make it out to the schools. And my goal is to be there as much as I can. And several of us are new here, so there hasn't been a whole lot of time, but I think we do have that goal.
Okay.
But we also have lives and full-time jobs. Like for me to come see you, I have to take time off of work. There's only so much time to take off work and so forth. So there's a reality to the
Right.
situation too. But please know we're here. And one of your comments was, I think there are short-term wins, like things that you can address more
Right.
quickly. So we've had a few questions and comments come up on high school students being out of school before 4, issues with bus schedules and people not, some of our special education sitting on the bus for 45 plus minutes, hour and a half or whatever.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but just in a couple of short months, we've made changes to the schedule. We've made changes so that the buses can be more accommodating to the students. We made changes so that high schoolers are out before 4 p.m.
Right.
Granted, it's only 25 minutes from what it was before, but you're also up against, everybody has their opinions. Everybody has what they like and don't like, kind of like the 4-day school week.
Right.
We're very split on who likes it and who doesn't. There's all sorts of comments out there, but the reality of the situation is if we want to cut school shorter, we have to go more days. So if you want to go more days, we can do that.
Gotcha.
Or, so there's so many of these things that are ripple effects and they keep going. And I didn't even realize that until I sat on multiple committees and I found out, wow, My calendar committee is attached to my transportation committee, is attached to and attached to and attached to. And so making some of these changes is difficult, but
Right.
I also will say that I've received multiple emails from concerned citizens as well as staff members. And this is, I can only speak for myself, but I've happily obliged to respond to every person I can, most of them the same day, if not multiple times a day.
Okay.
So very open to communicating with you guys. We are listening. And two other quick comments. The meeting that we had at 5 o'clock the other night was intended as just that. It was a board workshop where we're trying to take these things that we're hearing and actually make some decisions and make some progress on that. And the reason we're having this meeting tonight is so that we can listen to you and
Right.
take in your feedback and make decisions. So we are trying, and we have made impacts in just a short amount of time. There's still a lot of room to go.
Right.
We recognize that, but you know, it is going to take some
Yeah,
time.
I
So we're
think if you guys
absolutely,
just show us that you're working on it, because we don't see all that stuff. You know, I actually didn't mind sitting here waiting for you guys too,
Sure.
because I,
Yeah.
you know, got to listen and a little bit. I should have sat a little bit closer, but it was nice to see you guys in action actually. So I didn't mind that. But the part that we're lacking is where, you know, we're coming up here, putting our neck out on the line, speaking our business. And then it just felt like it stopped from there and we got no reciprocation from there. So maybe my, you know, commenting on that form that you've already got put out for the agenda, just doing a little reply right there. Yes, this is how we're working on it. Or thank you for the comment. Like that goes a long way for the community. You know, they took their time out to, you know, make a comment and try to be heard. And so, and then when you don't get anything back, it's like, well, are they working on it? Or, you know, and so that's just kind of, I thought would be a good suggestion for that.
And I would add, obviously, some of these changes are going to take place next year. We can't change in the middle
Right.
of the year.
Yes.
So that, you know, that's the thing. It's a delayed response too,
Right.
in many cases. So.
Yeah. And even commenting that might, you know, help calm the public down a little bit, if you know what I mean. So,
And not to interrupt, but I too would also share that. You know, one of the reasons why I even ran for the board was because I too would be very frustrated from the public standpoint with not really knowing what's happening, and I'd give a public comment and not have that feedback. So I most certainly understand where you're coming from, and just know that it is a goal of mine to make sure that that isn't what you are also getting from, you know, what it is that I'm doing on the board. And I think that your suggestion is a great idea. I'm not against it. And if that's something that we can do as a board, as far as just like you said, acknowledging the fact that we've read this comment and, you know, we are working on it, or it's a work in progress, I think that that's something that we could do better on, just so that that communication is open and the public's able to see what we're doing in the background.
thank you for that. Anybody else? No? All right.
Anyone else? Do we have any questions online? Okay.
Stephanie? Hey, Steph. Just 1 second. Mrs. Barrett, on a couple of things that you had mentioned, the policy for your public records request, it's KBA. But whenever you send that email in, if you go on the website, all of the trustees are listed right up there on the top, and you can just find whichever one you want to send an email to.
Okay.
And then when they get that, then they'll forward that over. But the specifics about the public records is KBA. B as in boy, KBA. Yes, that would help you. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a few online questions. Joey Fagel says, good evening. I'm aware that the bathrooms in the high school have been out of order for quite some time and are they currently back to normal operations?
Mr. Supas?
Thank you, Mr. Fagel, for that question. Yes, we have bathrooms that are going in and out on a daily basis. Rock Springs High School currently has plumbing that's somewhere in the area of about 50 years old. So it doesn't take much to plug a bathroom. So at any given day, Rock Springs High School will have at least one, if not two bathrooms that could be down due to whatever might be plugging the drain. Yes, I still have a bathroom that is closed right now because the doors have been ripped off and there is no privacy for the male students in that bathroom. The parts are on order. They should be coming in very soon. But to accommodate that, we've opened up all the other bathrooms that we could possibly open up. But this is a everyday struggle for us here at Rock Springs High School. We do our best to get them open as quickly as we can. And we want to ensure that our students feel safe and secure in those bathrooms. So I could open them up, but there are no stall doors to protect their privacy. And that is something that we are constantly working on, trying to find alternative ways for us to mount those doors to where they can't be easily ripped off. So yes, you are correct. There is one bathroom, but we are at any given day. I have a bathroom that's closed for various reasons. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
We've got some follow-ups for, well, not follow-ups, but Joey also asked, he says, our son has a friend that is wheelchair bound and apparently the elevator is unusable. Is this true? And if the elevator is unusable, how is the condition of the elevator?
The elevators, I'll let Mr. Celaroli speak on the elevators, but I can tell you that we do everything we can to ensure that there are elevators available. We also try to accommodate those students that need the elevator, that if the elevator happens to be not working at that time, we allow that student to go to another supervised area and log into the classroom online. So then that way we can try to at least make sure that that student receives some sort of education. We have currently at Rock Springs High School, we have two elevators. The one goes from 4th floor to 3rd floor. It is the oldest and it is probably the most reliable. But it is, we tell students frequently to make sure that you carry your cell phone with you when you are riding in that elevator because you just never know. We have had issues where we've had facilities crews stuck in the elevators at times. The other large white elevator, it's in the math wing. It would be on the far east side of the building. That is the one we've been having the most fits with. And I know Mr. Celaroli can speak to the intricate mechanisms and electronics and all that that has been going on with it. But we do everything we can to ensure that the students still receive some sort of education. But yes, we do have elevators that do break down from time to time.
On those elevators, and we are aware of the conditions of them. We have contracted, well, they're under contract to be serviced on a regular basis, but they're getting old. About 6 months ago, we contracted, I believe it's Kone, and we're getting new elevators. They're starting off with the one that is the most problematic, and that is the largest one, the one that this gentleman's talking about. We just got a bill today for the engineering of it. And it just takes time. Elevator companies, they dance to their own tune. We have to come up with 50% of the money, which is not a problem, just before they even get started. But that is the one elevator that we have given them a directive to make sure that that gets done priority. Now, their priority and ours is different. While we signed a contract and while they understand the urgency of getting that elevator, we're still at their mercy. Like I said, we got the engineering has been completed. It has been under contract now for several months. And I would imagine that they'll start coming in as soon as school is out and replacing the elevator. That was what we agreed to when we signed the contracts. So by the end of the summer, we should have new elevator in that building. Something that was kind of interesting is I signed contracts for almost $1 million in elevator replacements. They cannot get all the elevators that we need. So just shortages on everything still, and I don't know why. But right now, they are committed to getting that elevator, that is our large elevator, covers all 4 floors, finished by the end of the summer. That's, we go out to bid for these things, and that's the best that we can do. So, but every time it is broken, we usually get somebody up here that day. If it's not one of our electricians, it's somebody, from Kone or somebody from, we've even gone out of contract and paid companies from TK to come up here. So we've tried every available company that we have to get up here, whoever can make it up here the soonest. Sometimes our electrician's been able to get it going. When they can't, we still have to wait for whoever can get up here. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Dan. We also have Nikki Fagel online.
Excuse me, just a
Oh,
minute, let me ask
yes.
something, just a moment. What I want to add is you can hear, this is a 50-year-old building. When it comes to school buildings, it's old. And this past session, the legislature finally granted some construction money, a whopping $90 million, which they were very, shall I say, pleased that they were granting that much money for construction. We need a replacement high school. Just listen to the infrastructure problems that we're having. So we need, and we are shovel ready. When Satellite High School was built, it was to be built in stages, and we have the plans. It is shovel ready. In Wyoming, schools are built with funds from the legislature. And like I said, they granted $90 million. A replacement high school one building in and of itself would be more than $90 million. And they granted $90 million for the entire state. So they are way behind as far as constructing schools. And, it took us 10 years to get a downsized satellite high school that was downsized to about half of what we originally wanted. And it took us 10 years. Hopefully it doesn't take us another 10 years to get the replacement high school. But the reason I'm saying that is perhaps legislators will listen to their constituents. We have testified, I can't tell you how many times, regarding the satellite school, now the replacement high school, talking to legislators, maybe by their constituents would help, would make a difference. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So we have Nikki Fagel. There's a couple parts here. Hope I am asking this question correctly. I do not mind the 4-day school week. I do not like the block schedule with 90 minutes of class in addition to having power hour. Could we not have all classes all 4 days?
Mr. Supas?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. The block schedule was implemented my first year here at Rock Springs, so that would have been about 4 years ago. We had several events that occurred. Everybody remembers COVID and remembers all that other fun stuff. We have heard the concerns in regards to the block schedule. We have heard the concerns from the community. We have started a process of collecting data. The data that we're collecting right now has started very simply, just whether they like it or not, what recommendations would they have for an alternative schedule. We threw in, by grade level, we threw in different alternative ideas for different schedules. So then that way we can start looking at the data, breaking it down, because we finally have 2 years of consistent data that we can't blame COVID for anything. And we can actually say, this is where we're at with our test scores. This is where we're at with our attendance. This is where we are at as far as our discipline is concerned. We can take all that data, and we are looking at those results right now. And we are going to start taking a look at what next, not 23-24, but what 24-25 could possibly look like. It's interesting because schedules at the high school, I'm the only, everybody thinks that Rock Springs High School is the only high school. I'm not. I have Black Butte High School, and we work very closely with Black Butte High School. So if the principal at Rock Springs High School wants to make a change to the schedule, he needs to visit with the principal at Black Butte High School. And then you throw in on the other high school that we have, which is at Farson. So just flipping a switch and changing the schedule, it's not possible. We are looking at it. We are developing it. Our goal right now is to fix the systems and processes so we can ensure that students, this year's students, on May 24th, the last day of school, they will know what schedule they have for the 24-25 school year. It takes time for us to build those. So we are actively looking at it. The Guiding Coalition of Rock Springs High School is actively looking at it. We're looking at the staffing and student needs that we have. I understand, I hear, we are working on it, and we are hoping to be able to present to the community the data that supports whatever decision is being made. So I hear you loud and clear, and we're working on it.
Thank you. I wanted to add one more thing. In response to Kelsey, I would say that sometimes, we're sometimes in and out of the buildings and we don't see a lot of people. We may be in for a short period of time to visit with the principal. I know for a fact that Superintendent McGovern is in and out of the buildings almost on a daily basis. You may not see her, you may not see some of us, but we're trying to get there as much as we can. I've spent a lot of time out of town with the legislature and so forth. So, and my colleagues here are still working. So we are trying to visit the schools as much as we can, but just because you don't see us sometimes doesn't mean that we're not there. So thank you. Thank you. But Superintendent McGovern, she's in and out of the schools constantly.
I'm there, Kelsey. I promise.
Did we have some more online questions?
Yes, we do. We have Kendall Lee says, thank you for the opportunity. My question is, have the board and administration taken any of the practice YTOP tests? I know we can't change, but it's eye-opening what we are asking of our kids. Jody?
Can I jump in on that? Chair Jellicoe?
Jody? Yes.
Chair Jellicoe?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Kendall. It is definitely a different time of assessment. And parents, you have not seen the type of assessments that our students are taking at this time. But the great news is, Zach, did you get my little message about parents can go to the wyoassessment.org website? You didn't get my message? Okay.
I'm pulling it up. You just keep talking.
Okay, wyoassessment.org is the testing site where teachers go and they access data and results, but it has parent access. So parents and families can click right on that link. Thank you, Zach. There it is. Right there on the page, home page, right when you pull it up, that you can go in there and see the practice tests and the sample, the test examples. It's right there. And so it's a different time, and we are requiring our students to have increased rigor. It's not the same test that the parents of today took when they were in school. So thank you for pointing that out. And this is a great resource. It's right off the WDE website. And you can just get on there and play around and check out all the test samples there. So.
And I would say, Mrs. Garner, that we finally have a stable test where they're not changing it every time we turn around. So that it's not a moving target. For many years, we would prepare for one and then they'd change it. So it was chasing this moving target all the time, never knowing what our students were going to be tested on. So, that's one of the things that's calmed down a little bit. They're getting a little bit more structure to it and more consistency to it.
Can I? Just in regards to the YTOP, yes, the parents can see the questions online, but the rigor of the questions they are going to see is much less than what the students are actually going to be participating in. And so I think the question here is how are we actually preparing our students for that? And within math, I teach math specifically at Pilot Butte, and our curriculum is not preparing our kids for that. Our Eureka is not rigorous enough for our students to be successful. And so we ask part of the reason of why our YTOP score is so low, because I don't have the resources to teach to the rigor of YTOP. And so I think that's something that needs to be looked at is the curriculum or the resource, not the curriculum, but the resource that we have. Eureka does not match the rigor of YTOP at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comment on that too. Thank you. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Yeah, when Eureka was adopted 7 years ago, I think that it was a different assessment. I'm new. I mean, I've been here 3 years, and so I've learned, but there was a different assessment at that time when that resource was adopted. And so I have been hearing that quite often, that the resource does not align with the curriculum and the rigor. So thank you for that feedback.
Chair Jellicoe, can I comment on this? It's Mrs. Ellison.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
So I was a teacher a long time, and so of course I prepared many kids for testing. And my question was always, as I did that, K-12 actually, but I would always think, I wish that a legislative member would take just the 8th grade test. Because if you haven't done some of the math, the ELA, the writing, if you haven't done it for a while, you might get rusty on it. Like, I don't know how many of you have memorized all your algebra and your Pythagorean theorem and you use it daily and it just comes right back to you. But this year, what I have to say is we have really smart teachers and we have really smart kids. And we need to do the best we can to prepare them. And this year specifically, I know especially across the district, we did look at the maps even closer. And I know in my building specifically, we looked at all of the tests and why are kids maybe prepared or not prepared, and how can we best help them to be more prepared? Because some of it isn't just about like, do I know how to read? Some of it is you scroll a whole different way on an iPad than you do a computer. And so having our teachers support kids to help them to know, hey, this is what it looks like. This is how we can do better. And I think the other thing that I'll say is just making sure that we do everything we can from when the kids hit the ground to support and help them, and understanding that some kids are not there yet doesn't mean we're not going to get them there. We're going to keep striving to get them there. So if they have a rocky test one year, it doesn't mean that they can't do better the next year with good instruction and good supports. And so when you ask the question, have administrators taken it like that? And there has been moving target pieces to it. And it's, as an educator, it's hard to not get a little jaded because we're stable for now, but who knows what, our legislative body will decide to do in 5 years with a test. They could change companies, they could change tests, standards could change because we're always evolving and learning, is what I'm told. But the main thing is let's prepare kids the very best we can with what we have and let's support that. But I would say, speaking specifically for North Park, yeah, I know what that test looks like. And I feel like our administrators really do as well, because we spent a lot of time going over standards this year. We all went back to our buildings and went over that with our teachers as well, and went over the blueprints and how can we support them and have we taught that prior to the test? Or, because I remember having an 8th grader so mad, he's like, I could do this problem if my teacher would have taught me how to do this. Right. So trying to make sure that we have prepared them the very best that we can, and knowing that if they have a bad day, it's one day, and that we're going to do better next year to support them. It's one day, it's one test. There are many more other days and many other times that they show how great they really are. And so I know we have to prepare them for the test, and we will, but we also do lots of other things that are great that maybe don't always get mentioned because people get all stressed out about the test. There's a lot of great things happening in Sweetwater 1.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep. So we have a couple of quick follow-ups from Joey Fagel. He says, thank you for the answer, Mr. Supas. How can we as parents, community, admin, and board work together to help resolve the bathroom situation? And then he also follows up with, thank you for answering my questions. Totally understand the situations. I'd like to let you all know I appreciate your time, board and staff. So.
Well, Mr. Fagel, thank you. I guess I should share with you that, at any time, any person in the community who has a question about Rock Springs High School can call 307-371-7704. That is my district cell phone. And no, I will not answer it after 8 o'clock at night because I go to bed because I'm up at 4:30 every morning because the doctor says that I got to be healthy. But there are so many things that when we look and ask for help, our buildings are maintained at the highest possible level they can with the funding that is provided to us. I would love to start a GoFundMe page for Rock Springs High School and hopefully raise about $46 million. And I've got the first quarter. I think that the biggest way the community could help us out at Rock Springs High School is to just call. I have nothing to hide. My building is wide open. I can show you exactly which bathrooms are plugged. I can show you the drain that we constantly have to snake because the plumbing is backed up. I would love to have you come into the building at any time. You are all welcome. I wish I could hire my own contractors. I wish I could look at and say, hey, if you happen to run a landscaping business, come on up and please do free landscaping. But there are so many rules and regulations. I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to call up and ask. I have nothing to hide. You can't hide anything in a 50-year-old building, except for the one closet under the stairs. That's a great hiding place. But we do everything we can. And please, just please give me a call. Give me a call. And I know Mr. Celeroli can answer the specifics about, all the fun little maintenance stuff. But thank you. And thank you for being understanding. And thank you for allowing the kids to continue to come to Rock Springs High School. We love having them. So, Mr. Celeroli.
Yeah, as a follow-up, I'd like everybody to know, what can you do to help? When your kids see something, they need to report it. I mean, they get into this, well, I'm not a rat kind of thing, but that's not it. You have a small minority group of kids. We spent over $75,000 to put all new bathroom dividers in. Those things aren't even 3 years old. And kids are ripping them off the seams. Now, that doesn't happen in a vacuum. Somebody has got to hear it. Somebody has got to see it. I've walked in the bathrooms in the schools and just randomly, in fact, last week I saw students here. I said, don't you think it's a little weird that you're hanging out in the bathroom? I mean, you're talking to a friend who's in the stall. Today's generation is different. I've got kids from 20 to 40, and they're just different. I think it's kind of strange to hang out and talk to your friends in the bathroom when he's using the restroom. Mr. Supis tells me that's kind of normal. I've walked in, seen kids eating lunch in the bathroom. So it's, there's people in those restrooms, and so they have to see what the heck's going on. I think it was last year or 2 years ago, we spent over $50,000 just to unplug a drain that somebody had flushed clothing down. I mean, folks don't realize, it's just the auto flushers. We've seen in elementary schools, in middle schools, where the kids figure out that as long as there's something that it can bounce a signal off of, so they take the toilet paper and they start feeding it into the toilet, and it constantly flushes until all the toilet paper is gone. Toilet paper has gone up 200% in price. So even, if they're not plugging up drains costing us money, they're using paper products that cost us money. So, the biggest thing, if you have a kid that goes to school, we have to get through to these kids that, hey, you have a small minority that's making it rough on you because now you don't have a restroom that's convenient to use. Statutes and building codes are simple. For every so many kids, I have to have so many bathrooms. Do we have plenty of bathrooms in our schools? Absolutely. We have more than adequate number of bathrooms for the student body. That's even when the school is at full capacity. So shutting down restrooms isn't a violation of anything, but it is a really inconvenience. When you have somebody who can't use a restroom and they have to travel down, down the hall or down to another floor, that's a huge inconvenience. And it's really unwarranted just because you have a few kids that want to do vandalism because they think it's funny. Well, it costs somebody money. And if it doesn't cost money, it costs us time and definitely comfort. So it's, like I said, those were $75,000 of $50,000, because somebody flushes a garment, clothing down. I mean, those are things that when people see something, say something. It's that simple, but it has to start with the students. They have to care. If they don't care, no matter what we do, and it is a 50-year-old building, you folks need to get a hold of our representatives because they'll listen to you guys. They won't listen to us. So the message is always the same. Please tell your kids, take pride in what you're, in your school, take pride in your building, understand the consequences when one person does something. It affects many people.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is, is it not? I don't know. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. I'm Natalie Powell. I have 4 kids in the district, and I have a question about standards-based grading. So in the fall, I'm co-chair also of the parent involvement team at the high school. And in the fall, we were told that there were consultants that came in from a company called Don't Ever Stop, and they were going to be helping implement standards-based grading. And we had multiple presentations by the consultants who came and presented information and had a slideshow. And we went through an activity together where they showed pictures of fridges that were in different stages of organization. And we got to say, out of a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, where we felt it would fit. And it was very visual. And they talked to us a lot about standards-based grading. And my kids at the high school had some teachers implementing it and some teachers that were not implementing it. And then fast forward to last night at our meeting, we were told that those consultants are not actually hired to implement standards-based grading. And so I just feel like such a huge shift just in a few months is not conducive to transparency or building trust. And so I just would ask, where are we at? It's such a huge, massive change in everything at the secondary level who have not been standards-based. Elementary has parents that have elementary students understand it, but it felt like we are shooting and then aiming, and it's frustrating. And I know I only speak for myself, but I know I am not alone in the amount of feedback that I get on the parent involvement team, but also just talking to my own children, talking to my children's friends, and then talking to other parents. And so I just would ask, where are we? Which is it? Are we doing standards-based? Are we not? Is that where we're moving towards? Are we not? It's very confusing, and the messaging has been complete 2 different things in the same school year. And so I guess we're just seeking further clarification.
It's a great question. And I'm going to start off with a little bit of history, and then Jody, as the curriculum director, is actually in charge of the standards base. But as we know, holy cow, how long ago was it? 10, 11, 13 years ago when Dr. Kalicki was here, it was quite a process to take K-6 to standards-based grading. We had a lot of training. I bet you it was 4 years in the works of just the teachers learning about teaching to the standards and making sure that grades reflected proficiency, that they're not an average, it's a mode. And literally 4 years later, that was probably implemented. And honestly, the turnover from retirees and stuff, it needs to be retrained even at the K-6 level. Fast forward to 712, Jean and Copper from Don't Ever Stop, they actually were hired to come in as mentors for our administrators to work with us and also to work on student-centered learning. And that is working with the teachers, making sure that we are teaching to standards. All standards-based grading truly is making sure that the grade is reflecting the standard and the proficiency that a kiddo is getting. You're not putting attendance and behavior and all of that extra stuff, but that's something that follows years later. And right now the focus needs to be on student-centered learning and students taking ownership of their learning and the proficiency of those standards. So that's not going to be happening anytime soon from this 712. We're going to start some steps and I'm going to let Jody take over because that's her department with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Jean and Copper from Don't Ever Stop were brought in as consultants for the high school. And their specialty is proficiency and personalized mastery, really. And so their work was to improve teaching and learning at Rock Springs High School. And so we wanted to make sure that as we brought them in, we were also looking at our curriculum maps and discovered that the curriculum maps were not matching up with the white top. Prior to myself taking over our department, we didn't really modify curriculum maps for 7 years. There was kind of a 7-year change where we didn't really make changes to the maps. And we found that we needed to really prioritize standards and make sure that the priority standards that were on the YTOP blueprint, which is the sketch that the state gives us that tells us what will be tested, match up with our current curriculum maps. And so at the beginning of the year, it was important that every grade level reevaluated and looked at their curriculum maps. So we worked with our principals on being instructional leaders to their staff to make sure that everyone understood how to work with their teams, reevaluate their curriculum maps as quickly as possible, because we couldn't go another year and we couldn't pull teachers out of classrooms. Time is critical. We hear that all the time. We need to keep our teachers in the classrooms. Let's do some quick priority work, and we're going to now readjust our curriculum maps every year as we look at the data from our state assessments, what progress we've made. We will monitor and adjust based on our data. Meanwhile, Jean and Copper were working at the high school on many facets of this, where they were trying to make sure that priority standards were being addressed and that standards were being taught to proficiency. And so I think that, and Mr. Supas, feel free to jump in, when I think that the message got a little skewed on whether we were grading, standards-based grading, or if we were really going in the direction of teaching standards to proficiency. And so I think that that's where the message got a little rocky there. And so we are going to move in the direction. I mean, teaching standards to proficiency is the ultimate goal. We want our kids to be able to know what they need to know to be successful. We don't want to throw them into a test that they are not prepared for. And we have a lot of catching up to do, due to COVID, due to, poor resources that maybe we have that don't really match up with rigor. And so we have some catching up to do. So we are dedicated to really turning this in a different direction as far as proficiency, student proficiency goes. And so that's what they were really brought in for. They were not hired to come in and implement standards-based grading. Now, they are hired to help improve student proficiency when it comes to priority standards and what that looks like in classrooms. Mr. Supas, would you like to jump in?
I would. Thank you. Mrs. Powell, thank you again for that question. That's a great question. The efforts and the attempt and what I had hoped to be able to do were misaligned, not accurate, and was not in alignment with what the consultants were hired for. I am the leader of Rock Springs High School. I accept full responsibility for the mixed messages and miscommunication in regards to that. Yes, at the beginning of the year, I was hoping that we could radically change the way we provided instruction and assessed student knowledge. I have learned, and really at this point, all I can do is apologize for moving too fast in making those decisions. I apologize for the mixed messages, but it is very clear that Gene and Copper were hired as mentors for the leadership and the leadership only. They knew what we were trying to do. They knew that we needed to figure out a way to adjust the mismatching of a student that has a 4.0 GPA, yet scores an 18 on the ACT. That misalignment, and in my eyes as the educational leader at Rock Springs High School, I was hoping that we could go ahead and make a very quick shift. And I have learned from that error. I will be following the guidance of the district office and the curriculum department. The staff has been told that we are not going to be doing any sort of standards-based grading. We have dropped that until we get the full training that we need, and we will realign ourselves with the mission of the district. But at this point, all I can do as the leader of the building is apologize for trying to rush things to try to fix an inequity that I saw as a building leader.
Thank you.
So the grading versus teaching to proficiency, I just want to clarify. So we were grading on standards based because I had kids that were graded on standards based, and there are still some classes that are approaching it that way and are only like taking assessments, for example, 4 grades and not any work, which is what standards based is, right? You grade on the standard. Is the student meeting proficiency on the standard versus are they turning in their homework, things like that. So I guess it's still, I understand that like maybe it was miscommunicated. However, it was executed. We were doing standards-based grading and we still are in some classes. And so maybe I completely misunderstand. Maybe my children still completely misunderstand. And so I just feel like maybe it's not as clear as we think that it should be.
Ms. Powell and Mr. Supas can jump in. Mr. Supas has done, I want to commend him first off. I don't think an apology is necessary when a leader sees an issue and jumps in and is taking the bull by the horns because we need to get stuff done. He had no ill will and neither did the teachers. There's just some things that, you know what, unintended consequences or something you didn't notice. So we backtrack, and I don't think an apology is necessary for that. He has worked very hard and so has his team. And I also know that he can speak to some of the standards-based grading because he did jump right in with the teachers. And I'll let Mr. Supas talk to that. That's not my part. But what you said right there was a perfect reason why we're not doing standards-based grading right now, because it's not just the assessment. It's not an average of anything. It is showing proficiency of a standard over time, and it's actually the mode, so there's not the proper training or understanding by even a lot of our K-6 teachers that are new to the district and need to be retrained, of which Jody has that plan to implement. But your statement of what is being relayed even to you at home is why we're not jumping to standards-based grading right now, because that kind of training really has to be put in place despite everybody's best efforts. That's not a dig at anybody, but I'll let Mr. Supas jump in because he did proactively take immediate steps with that.
So when we realized the issues that were coming out of the standards-based grading first semester prior to grades being posted, we immediately met with the teachers that were piloting the standards-based grading, and we worked with them to make sure that we readjusted to ensure that there were no students that were harmed by our experiment, by our attempt. There are some teachers that are still doing so because they're still working on it. But all I need to know is which ones. So then that way we can go ahead and have a conversation with them about it. But I still stand by the fact that I have been looking at every student's grades, and we are doing every attempt possible to make sure that the students' grades are not affected because of a failed attempt at standards-based grading.
Thank you for that clarification. Do we have any more online questions?
We do have some online, so can we do those first?
Yeah, let's do a couple of those.
Okay, so Ashley Carson said, this is going to tie in with Sherry Gibbons as well. But Ashley Carson says, good evening. Some of our buses are very full due to not being able to tier our routes this year. I'm concerned about how many students I carry daily and the safety of sitting kids 3 to a seat. Is age and size considered when we determine how many kids can fit? And then Sherry Gibbons follows up with transportation suggestion. Can we have bus stops for junior high at each elementary? Junior high students can walk to a nearby elementary and get on the bus to take them to the junior high. This also might help reduce bus stops in the morning. So, Mr. Joe.
Mr. Klingenpeel?
Okay, let me start with the bus routes. Our bus routes are structured in a way that the students do not have to walk very far. We do corner stops, middle stops, and we have several stops with our routes. So I can look into that, but our routes doing it that way work pretty well, and the students do not have to walk that far. As far as Ashley's question, she's absolutely right. I am very aware that there is an issue with crowding on our buses. The good news is, so is our board, so is our administrators. They are taking steps to alleviate that issue. And it goes back to what Mr. Wright had said earlier. It's a ripple effect. So we do something to do what's best for the students at that time, and it has a ripple effect. So we look at that, and to fix it, it's also a ripple effect. It has to start with the calendar to have the hours to be able to be more flexible with the start and end times of school. And when we take care of that calendar, which we have or in the process of, then we can start looking at start and end times for schools in order to tier our routes to alleviate that issue. And I am fully confident that that issue will be resolved. The issue is that it will not be resolved this year because we have to finish up this school year. We can't change in the middle of a school year, but it will be resolved next year.
Mrs. McGovern?
Mr. Klingenpeel, thanks for bringing that up. Just a couple of things too to go along with some of the transportation suggestions that came forward that we listened to. We won't be having families sign up for transportation the way that we did this year. That won't be needed with the start and end times, and then the way the routes can be staggered and that we can have those tiered. So that will help our families as we move forward with that one. And just a couple of thoughts, Mr. Supas. I know one of the other concerns that I think is really important to mention that we have heard about is there was some questions about scheduling and such for our high school students. And I just want to extend an appreciation to what our administration did up at Rock Springs High School with our counseling staff. We had heard that some of our students didn't have their schedules ready to go for the second semester. And I know the amount of time and effort that our counselors and our administrators did. They went through and they touched every single schedule so that when the kids came in after Christmas break, they were ready to go. And I believe there was at most maybe 10 schedules that they needed to fix. And so I really appreciate the efforts that Rock Springs High School is trying to take. It is our biggest building. It has over 1,400 students in that building each and every day. And so it's a big effort to move that building forward, and I appreciate what they are doing to change that as we move. One other thing that, as I listen to the questions and the concerns that are coming forward, I think a lot of people wonder, what can we do to help? So as a parent, what can I do? As a staff member, as our students? And I think some of the big things is we need a replacement high school. We do. Rock Springs High School is outdated, and we need a new building. And when I think back to when the school funding and these issues started to occur, as I was preparing for this meeting tonight, we have testified since 2015 and attended meetings and spoke on behalf of school finance and for our buildings and the state of those. So when people ask, what can I do to help with that? And we very much appreciate our satellite campus that we do have, but we need a full replacement building. We have the land that is over there. There's 55 acres. Chair Jellicoe had mentioned that we have the design documents that are at 95%. And they would need to be reviewed one more time to make sure that they're up to current code. But it is ready to go. So when you think, what can we do to help with that? We need our legislators to hear that you want to see that as well, and that it's important for our community to have those things for our kids. The high school has done a great job on having students that go back and forth from one campus to the other. But we also know that if we could expand out there and have the infrastructure, it's really hard to get the kind of technology that we need. And we do the very best that we can, but it's not the same as if you had a brand new building that had those state-of-the-art things that our students need to be successful in moving forward. They've done a career and technical education academy that has multiple pathways for our students. For when they enter the high school, students can enter those academies. There are many pathways so that when they leave Rock Springs High School, they could have certifications be ready. They could be college ready, or they could be trade school ready. We have the other academies, but we also want to make sure that we get job experience for kids that aren't in academies so that they have those things as well. But we also need buildings that can support that. And we also know our community is also one of the greatest classrooms that we can have as well. So if you're asking, how can we help here as a community member? Because if you didn't care, you would not be here. And if you didn't care, you wouldn't have the questions in the chat on the side. And so the way that you can help is give us a call. Please be involved with your schools. If you want to serve on committees, that is a perfect way. I know over a year ago, I did a parent involvement for student achievement committee. Perfect example. We started off pretty strong with some parents, and by the time we were done, there was just a handful that remained. And I know it's hard because a lot of you think, well, I want to be involved. Just how do I do that? What does that look like? I want to see that change, and I want our kids to be successful, and you want graduation rates to increase, and we do too. And so those things I would encourage, let us know. I want to serve on any committee that you guys have open. Invite us into the school. We want you to please come in. Please feel welcome. And we want you to know that that door is open. And if you don't feel that way, then we need to work harder so that you do. Also, I think it's important for our students to reach out to our legislators. They need to hear from our kids about what that is like day to day and what they want to see as we move forward. And I would agree with Mr. Celaroli. We have testified so many times on there that it's hard sometimes because you feel like that you get shut down, but we're going to be there all the time because that's what we believe in, and we believe in our community. But if you also want to know a way that you can help, that is one of the ways. Reach out to them, let them know these are the things that we need in our school district to make it better for all of you and for the kids that we serve. Thank you.
Chairman Jellicoe, Clarkston, House District 48, Speaker Pro Tem of the House. I wanted to thank you, the trustees, for the work you do, and the superintendent and the staff for all the hard work you do. I know that you have the best interests of the children of the school district and of Rock Springs at heart, so thank you for that. I did want to take a moment to talk a little bit about the school capital construction budget that came up earlier in this meeting. The legislature's budget is done on a 2-year basis. So our biennium goes from July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2024. The total school capital construction budget for school maintenance and construction for that 2-year period is $377 million. $377 million. That was done in 2022. $248 million was appropriated, of which 158 was for maintenance and just 90 million was for new school construction. So that may be where the 90 million figure came from. Just this last month, we added another $129 million to the school capital construction budget, of which 100 million is for new schools and 29 is for maintenance. The legislature is having conducted a school capacity and condition study that was supposed to be ready for the legislative session. It was not ready. Excuse me. Basically, that's supposed to be ready by August. What the School Facilities Commission does with that is to evaluate the schools statewide to determine by capacity and by condition what the priority for new school construction is. And we've tried to depoliticize the process. There was an effort, frankly, by the legislators on the eastern side of the state and the northwestern part of the state to just get the $100 million all for 2 counties, Laramie County and Teton County, and we successfully were able to beat that effort back and to say, look, we'll do $100 million, and then the School Facilities Commission will look at and prioritize them by the need across the state. Bigger picture, the legislature, we do listen to you, we do hear you. This last supplemental budget session, this last session, in the supplemental budget, in the supplemental budget, more than half of the money spent in the supplemental budget was for K through 12. Okay, of the $380 million, there was over $180 million spent for K through 12. I was happy we were able to do the full $70 million for the inflation adjustment, the external cost adjustment. That helps, right? You've faced a lot of inflation problems for your utilities. You've got school teacher pay pressures. I think we understand that. And on top of that, in the background, long term, of the $1.4 billion that was put into savings, more than half of that went into K through 12 long-term savings accounts, whether that's the Common School Permanent Land Fund or the School Foundation Program Reserve Account. So I just want you to know, we do take education seriously, but you're correct that $90 million statewide doesn't go very far. And as you know, for maintenance, a lot of money is being put into that. By formula, it's 2% of the value of your school buildings gets allocated to the school district each year for maintenance. Again, you face inflation cost pressures, and I'm sure it's hard to make those dollars stretch the way they need to do. But I wanted to let you know that I think there was a big focus this last session, last couple of months, on trying to make sure that K through 12 is a priority. So thank you for what you do, and I want you to know that we are listening. So thank you.
Okay. All right. As you may remember, I'm Lisa Coleman, former music director, and I brought you a situation on Tuesday that we are in a crisis in our music department and that we need your help to help fix some decisions that we feel were very bad decisions that were made. And I know that Ms. Jellicoe said that we would look into it. So my question is, what is the timeline for that? Because if you're going to move someone from one position to another, then we need to be able to get right on hiring to make sure that we have quality candidates that are interested in the job and not wait till July or so when where we're kind of limited on what we have, because then that's going to be another excuse of why we can't do it. And so my question is, what is the timeline to know when we're going to look into this and see if we can move something about it?
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. And I do appreciate your passion. And I do. And I know where your heart is with it. It goes beyond that. You guys have ran very, very good and successful programs due to staffing shortages. And we're getting lucky that we're actually getting applicants that are qualified now, right? But how many years did we go that we didn't have an applicant that even had a music degree? And so where you had Miss Westbrook at Eastside running an amazing choir, Pilot Butte didn't have one, which the trickle effect going up, and we want that program to build. When we sit down with secondary and we go through all of the numbers and staffing, we are honestly matching staffing with numbers, but we are watching it very closely as it grows. I understand there might not be a class offered, but when we pulled those numbers, right now, I know what the want is. What it's matching up to is different. And it's not that the goal isn't to separate that and have a full-time and a full-time. But when we went over staffing, the numbers aren't matching, and it's been a trickle effect that has come up. But we have a great choir going on at PBE. Our music teachers are doing amazing jobs with the younger kids. I only see it growing. I mean, our band numbers have went up. I mean, it's starting to pick up again.
So my question is, a follow-up question to that. 2 years ago, we had 5 choirs at the high school. It only took 2 years to decimate the program. We have 3 choirs, and she did not feel like she could do both together and raise children, so she quit. Mr. Redmond is leaving because he feels that he's watching the program fall around him. He feels like he's helpless to do anything about it. I really feel like we can do something about it. We have the candidates to do it. We have the manpower to do it. We need to do it. We have classes we can put in. The junior high and high school are desperate for classes to put those kids. When you said that their schedules weren't made, that's because they didn't have classes to put them in. We have too many kids and not enough classes. So let's give them some classes that they can put them in. Let's give them music appreciation. It's one that doesn't require to be performed. You don't have to perform. You can just enjoy. We have guitar numbers that are on the rise. Let's add classes that he can teach. He can teach guitar. And then let's give him some stress, since he's not going to have anybody there in the secondary that's going to be, other than the retired people that can try to help. But let's take the stress off of him and let him choose some classes so that he can build the choirs. Let's have him only concentrate on high school. I did notice that when you went through your hiring, that you put him at the junior high because that is supposedly his home school, but you didn't mention him at the high school at all. And I really feel like it needed to be said that that's a position that's both high school and junior high. And the fact that you put him at the junior high and said, we have just junior high, that as a new hire, I don't think that that's accurate, because he does have to do both. And I don't think that he needs to do both. We have the people that can do it. So I'm just reiterating what I said on Tuesday. They work for you. You can change it if you feel like it's wrong.
Thank you.
Speaking of classes with our older, come on up, Marty. We have a CTE teacher position that we are dying to fill based off of the numbers. I mean, we assess those numbers. We don't have the space to put them. We have an enormous amount of kids wanting to take welding and woods and metals. I'm talking 400-500 on some of them. And our teachers have stepped up to offer a 0 hour. They are working during their preps and being compensated because they want to offer it to the kids. And we don't have the building space to put another CTE teacher in to offer the classes that our kids want. We need a new high school. Clark, we really need a new high school. I know you're one person.
You have building space for this.
Yep.
Do we want to do some online questions? We have a couple more, Mrs. Jellicoe.
Do we have two?
We'll let John, you go ahead, my friend.
Hi, my name's John Spicer, and I'm a senior at Rock Springs High School, and I just wanted to talk about the opinion of people wanting to move away from the block schedule, and I just don't understand why. For my freshman year, I had 7 classes a day, and you have those 7 classes, and the moment you get home, you have to get that done for the tomorrow, or you're late, and that points don't count. And especially when it comes to Friday, I swim and I do athletics. We'd leave maybe 7, 8 in the morning. And right now, I never had to make that up. But now instead of being no classes, you have to decide to make up all 7 and connect with all the teachers. And it just makes it really stressful. And I don't understand why people would like to go to that. And my GPA as a freshman was maybe a 3.4. It was not something I was proud of. And junior, senior year, I've kept it up to a 4.0 and a 3.9. My overall GPA is at 3.9, sorry. And I'm proud of that. And I wouldn't have been able to sign on to the college that I get to go to and swim unless I had that, and especially the Tiger time too. That time to be able to do your homework and having that second class with the alternating. So your homework you can do that night and the classes tomorrow with that. And just being able to meet with your teachers, and like I have now, I'm meeting with my AP Calc teacher, makes it that much easier to not have to deal with it. Thank you.
Chair Jellicoe, I want to commend the high school for this too. They do listen to their teachers and they bring stuff forward on the schedules. And I know sometimes they really take the heat for that, but due to the timing of that block schedule being put in place and the history of watching every time we want to change, what do? We just jump to change the schedule because that'll fix it. And if anyone looks at our scores and our ACTs, guess what? No matter what schedule we were on, that's not, we've got underlying root problems we need to fix. Now, I'm not saying the block schedule is the end all be all. I'm not advocating one way or the other, but we did say there needs to be data. This jumping all over to schedules thinking it's going to fix it is not the end all be all. And the teachers are one piece to that and very important. And our students are the other piece to that and very important. And I know Mr. Supis will be sharing out results, and I'm going to tell you, they are night and day opposite. And we can say all we want, low numbers on surveys. I mean, people need to take the surveys if they want their voices heard. I don't know what to tell people there, but we are listening. That's a building level decision with their teachers. But we did put a halt on it after COVID and the next year, just changing it because we need to give something a chance. And let's be honest, 4-day week and block schedule, like I said before, sorry, I'm drying up, I guess. It is a completely different approach to teaching. Completely different approach to teaching. And we always have to keep that in mind. There's underlying root problems here. The schedule isn't going to be the end all be all to fixing the problem. Maybe a part of it, but it's not going to be the end all be all.
Hi, I'm Marty Albert. I teach 3rd grade at Sage. I wanted to ask you to address a couple of rumors. I found out a week ago that I'm quitting my job because I'm mad about my position. I was really surprised about that. So that's not true. So I've taken to going to people and asking them, if I hear a rumor, any basis to this. So I heard a rumor about the specials being changed for the K-3 schools. And I didn't think there was any basis. And I went and asked specials teachers and they went, and they said that there are K-3 teachers complaining about double specials because they don't have time to teach. And you know, I've been pretty vocal for 2 years about going to a 4-day week and shortening the days simultaneously. It was a real kick in the gut to the K-3 teachers, and we're doing our best. This year we've added Horizons, we've added Trista's ideas. There's so much being asked of us and no more time. We went from high school hours to teach to elementary hours to teach. We've just lost so much time. I don't know a single teacher that doesn't like double specials. And I will say, I love knowing what specials I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and not having to keep up that rotation. So my question is there any basis to, we're going to be changing our elementary specials, we're going to have less art, we're going to have less library, blah, 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 blah. And is anything going to get taken off of K-3 teachers' plates at any point? We just keep adding, and there's just not enough time. And teachers are awfully stressed trying to meet all the needs. Thank you.
I'll take the specials and then you can take the fun one. First off, Marty, thank you for standing up and asking us. We have yet, with all these rumors, we have yet to get, no, I take that back. I got one private message from a parent, which I appreciated, and we had a very candid conversation, and I appreciated the upfront, and it stayed between us, and I really reflected on it. But other than that, let me tell you about social media and why we're not going to take to it as our platform. Because it gives a voice to the ones that are giving false information. Some are accurate, but so thank you for asking. I got phone calls today because whoever decided to start that rumor upset a lot of people. So thank you for that. I really appreciated that. Unnecessary stress. No, we're not changing it. I've received feedback from principals. I've received feedback from teachers. They're not complaining about a double specials. What they're saying is the day that the double specials is, it's shortening how can we increase instructional time? Problem solving. And I've heard from the specials teachers. I've been working with the specials teachers through Weston. Thank you, Weston Lamb. He's been kind of leading that. And Weston sat with me on all the feedback that they had, and we were just toying with would a rotation be better? But if we go to a rotation, I was very clear, I would be adding stuff back in so that we're not taking time away. Our specials are critical and they're very important. So there is no basis to that. I'm meeting with the specials teacher tomorrow to finalize the feedback. So thank you for asking. And I would implore people to email or, Ms. Baird, sorry, she emails me with questions and I appreciate that. So we can give the facts. And, I understand it's sometimes what people don't want to hear, but these rumors are getting out of control. And I can tell you all they're doing is dividing the district. So thank you for asking. There is absolutely no basis to that. None.
Jody's turn. Yeah, I'll jump in on there. Marty, thank you for bringing that up. As we have, being the new person over the last 3 years, I sat back, watched, really examined strengths and weaknesses of things that have been implemented in the past. And we have to do something different than we've always done because we've had the same student achievement for many years. And so I'm really trying to implement some new things. But this year, we did bring in Reading Horizons with the literacy grant that we were very lucky to have, which is an intervention tool that we really, when I came in, all of the intervention materials were gone. And so we really needed to find something that we could use. So between that and the work with Trista, who is a turnaround coach, she works national, all around the United States and on turnaround schools. And that's really, we have to do things that we've never done when it comes to our student achievement. And so those are things that we did implement. I do want to take things off your plate. And next year, my plan is to meet with all the grade level teams individually so that we can really examine using our data, what went well this past year, what went great. You guys are going to give me feedback so that I can hear what you think is working, what you think we need to look at, and we can really prioritize our work so that we can take some things off of your plates. Thank you. Thanks for asking. And feel free to reach out to me, email me, call me, and invite me in your classroom. I will get around, Kendall. I
Marty's
am super
pensive.
excited. So, thank you.
We have had it made very clear to us that we are not to contact you.
Yeah.
We are to go through our building administrator, and we have people from other buildings here. Is this a message you've had? So I appreciate your saying, contact us, contact us. We've been told not to do that. And so we tried to go through those channels, but I just want you to be aware that the staff has been told not to contact you.
Thank you.
I bug Jody all the time, no matter what Kelly tells me.
Come on up, kiddo. I'm just gonna respond to that. I don't think when they're saying don't contact us, it is meant in that way, and I'm sad if it's being taken like that. Honestly, I think that there is a level of respect for administrators that if something is coming to us, they just want to be in the know so they're not blindsided. And so it's that chain of command. And so I'm sorry if you've been told never talk to us or never contact us. I'm glad some of you don't listen to that because I hear from quite a few of the teachers. It's the rumors in the public I'm not hearing from. But in all fairness, I don't think that that's the message that the administrators necessarily meant. They just don't want to be blindsided, and that chain of command, they just want to be kept in the know. And so anybody is always welcome to contact us.
Hi, my name is Elise Busenbark, and I'm a freshman at Rock Springs High School. And I just want to say that I support the block schedule. It works really well for me. I enjoy having time in between classes to like get homework done and get things turned in on time. And next year, I also plan on taking college classes concurrent with the high school. And I feel like the block schedule will just really allow me to get to and back, like to the college and back to the high school in enough time. And I just want to say that I really support the block schedule. Thank you.
That's my favorite part, the kids. Anyways.
Very well spoken, both of you.
All right, I'm going to jump to some online questions if that's okay, Mrs. Jellicoe. All right, we have Melissa Gold who says, could some of the money be saved by not hiring contractors and instead hiring staff? An example, summer help that they could contract out rather than hiring high school and college kids for lawn care and such. And then she also has a follow-up question below that I'm going to jump to. Does the board have any concern with the amount of staff leaving the district? So hiring high school and college kids rather than contractors and concern with staff leaving the district.
Yeah, I'll take the first one. Okay, we actually do hire either college kids or we hire through Elwood Services. So when we put out 4 positions in the summer, if somebody is 18 years old or older and they come to us, we usually tell them go through Elwood Services, because the one thing that Elwood Services provides and that is that and it actually is a huge expense for the district is workman comp. So they're protected under workman compensation. It's easier for us to figure into our budget because it's a set fee. It just becomes a little bit cumbersome when we start hiring part-time people. And honestly, when we hire a lot of the college kids, what has happened, I've been doing this now for almost 20 years. Over the summer months, they'll show up for June, they'll show up for July, and then all of a sudden, their parents are going on vacation, they want to go on vacation. So it becomes an issue with us when we're planning on, doing certain things to start up before school starts, and now we lost half of our staff. When we go through Elwood Services, we don't have that issue because a lot of times they're on, for the whole summer. If somebody leaves, we can get somebody literally the next day. And when it comes to contractors, we do contract some of the work out because some of the work is considered an enhancement. If it's an enhancement, the district has to find another source to pay for it. Okay, we have a lot of enhancements in this district, all of our soccer fields. When you build a building, you only get X amount of allotted space for your building. Anything that you develop beyond that is on the district to pay for. So what in the past, this district has been very fortunate because we have a rec board that gives the money that we collect on the rec mill to this district to maintain those enhancements. So when that happens, it's easier for us to go out for bid, which we're doing now, to get one lump sum. So we know how much it's going to cost us from April to September. That includes blowing out lines, things like that. We do an awful lot of that stuff in-house, but we try to keep it around our schools for the allotted space. Otherwise, it costs the district a lot more money if we had to hire people for in-house to take care of money that, I get funded through major maintenance, which is a state funding system. But I only get money for that if it's based on allotted space. Anything over that is considered an enhancement. Enhancements are paid for another means. Doing daily maintenance is not included in major maintenance. So we try to get the most for our money, and we try to be consistent. And honestly, it's for the amount of grounds that this district has, we have an awful lot. It is almost impossible to hire enough people because, no offense to the kids, the people who come work for us, but they generally don't work grounds. That's not their business. When we hire a contractor who does grounds in the summertime, that's their business. So if we're unhappy with what they do, we can bring them back at no cost. If we send kids out there to do lawns, which we do, and this has happened, and I drive by and the lawns don't look like they're doing, what they should be doing, now I have to pay them to go back and do it. I mean, it's not like I can say, well, go back and do it on your own time. So now I'm paying them to do it twice. So there's an economic and a business reason why we do what we do. Now, when you refer to contract labor, like throughout the school, again, we have maintenance guys and they do roughly 13 to 15,000 work orders a year. So those are all done in-house. We do an awful lot of in-house. A lot of our construction we handle. We don't spend on contractors unless it's specialty items. We do almost, I'd say probably nowadays about 85 to 90% of our work in-house. So I get X amount of dollars from the state. I get X amount of dollars from the district. I have to get the biggest bang for the buck for that, and, in order to serve this district. So we do look at hiring kids. We do hire some of the kids, but like I said, the college kids in general are good for the beginning of the summer. But as the summer goes on, I mean, all of us were 18, 19 years old. It becomes, okay, I need to have fun with my friends. I want to go out Friday night. I'm not going to make it in Monday. So it becomes a logistical, issue for us. And I do feel after doing this for a long time that in some instances, it's just better to go out for contracted, especially in our enhanced properties, because it's a different funding source and the district can't hire and pay out of a different funding source, if that makes sense. It's just complicated when it comes to dollars. So.
One of the priorities of this board is to retain our quality teachers. The professional development that's provided to our teachers, if we have to have someone new come in, we lose all of that experience as well as the training that they've received. So it's not just a loss of salary and benefits. Most of the time, I mean, and that's one of the reasons that we contracted with, I think it's called Upbeat this year, that are doing a third-party exit survey so that we can try to get more what people would consider accurate, if not objective information about why teachers are leaving. We don't want to see our teachers leave. I mean, we're doing everything that we can to try to keep them. And so it's just many of the people that have left in the past, it's due to family reasons and things like that. At least that's what they're telling us. So we're hoping with Upbeat providing us with an exit survey by a third party, that if there are some underlying things that are going on, that we can get that information. Also, the climate survey that's going to be going on is going to be by buildings as well as the overall district as well. So we understand there's some concerns at the district level. There may also be some concerns at the building level, and they're going to help us identify what some of those are. And then actually there's a coaching mechanism in place too, so that they can help us how to decipher the information, decipher the data that we get, and then how can we make things better. So those are a couple of things, the steps that the board has taken. and will continue to do. I'm seeing Mr. Wright maybe wants to speak to this. Am I? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, no, I can say something to this and then something maybe when we're done with questions, if that's okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I just would add, I think that something that we need, again, we can't speak to every situation and know exactly why every person's leaving, but we live in a very interesting town, right? A lot of our industries boom and bust. We've seen a lot of major, huge Halliburton's, you name all the out there on industrial roads, Schlumberger. I mean, we've had some pretty massive turnovers in our community, which affects, everybody involved in that family. And if they have to move for one family member or another, and our community is kind of a boom and bust community, and it's great for the people that can stay here and have that stability. But I think that's a nature of the beast here. And it's something that we try to contend with, which is why there's a number of initiatives that the district does to try to compensate accordingly or provide other benefits to try to keep people here, is because it's a difficult community. And it's not just the school district, it's all of the businesses in our community that suffer the same situation. So I think it's the nature of the beast here.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that answered both questions, I believe. Do we have any more?
We do have a couple more. We have Dan C. says, what are we doing about the problem with the fields at Stagecoach, Pilot, and Sage with the infestation of prairie dogs? These fields are almost to the point of needing to be sodded again. And side note, my granddaughter saw a prairie dog at one of the schools and she swears it growled at her. She's not into those schools. She just saw one on the curb. She's like, there it is. And it growled at me.
Dan, is that a question?
I guess that's for me.
Grant?
I have been unofficially dubbed the sheriff of prairie dog town. We have just signed a contract. We just allocated the money for $46,000 to try to get rid of prairie dogs. Last year, we spent almost that much to try to get rid of prairie dogs. The issue that we have with prairie dogs is the more they build, which is a good thing, the more they chase the prairie dogs out. So where do they go? They go where we just planted sod. They go where we just put new grass in. I mean, they're not dumb. They go to nice areas. I mean, if you're being chased out of a dry desert prairie, wouldn't you like to have a nice front lawn to munch on? So that's where they're going. Believe me, I share the same frustration because, again, it comes to funding. Where do we get this kind of money to eradicate prairie dogs? We do our best. I put in for failed repairs almost every single year. And until we can get rid of prairie dogs, how do I go in and put new sod on a field? The prairie dogs, just so you know, I mean, they chew through our sprinkler systems. They not just the water lines, but they chew through the electrical lines, the low voltage lines. So it's not just a matter of putting sod in. I wish that's all it was, because we can re-sod. But you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases just to go in and repair a field that the prairie dogs have gone through. They are a nuisance. And honestly, I have talked to people for a long time. I was the head of the facility managers group for the state of Wyoming. I was sit on that board for over probably 15 years. And it came down to talking about prairie dogs. And everyone has issues with prairie dogs. We're fortunate on this side of the state because our prairie dogs have not been declared extinct. On the eastern part of the state, they can't poison them. They can't get rid of them because they have been declared extinct. There's whitetail and there's blacktail. And we happen to have the ones that have not been declared extinct. So we try. I was always dead set against poisoning because I worry about the kids. I worry about pets. I have cats. I have dogs. I would be really upset if my dog went out and chased, a prairie dog or found the food. So the type of poisoning that we've had to go to, because we have tried relocating them. We've tried, we tried trapping them. We tried relocating them. We tried carbon monoxide down in through their holes, all kinds of ways to get rid of these critters. But honestly, the only way that we can do it is by poisoning. So what we do is it's a poison that we actually tube it down into the prairie dog hole. And then we go down deep enough that, you can't get to them. And it's basically a Coumadin. So it thins out their blood, they go to sleep. But I'm telling you, I've learned more about prairie dogs than I ever thought in 65 years I needed to know about prairie dogs. And these things are absolutely amazing because they have their colonies, and one colony will come in and fight the other colony and cannibalize the other colony. But then now they're doing buildings, across Stagecoach. Those prairie dogs are coming in, and they're at war with the prairie dogs that are there. I mean, it's amazing, but that's what happens. We sit and we laugh about it, and I drive by and I get sick over it because I see more holes popping up, and to me, it's dollars. I have to look at one. I try to mitigate liabilities, because I don't want anybody getting hurt. I don't want anybody getting bit. I don't want anybody, falling in a hole. But then it's ultimately a cost. And I get X amount of dollars every 3 months to maintain, our buildings through the state's major maintenance. And when I start spending a tenth of that allocation for critter control, and that doesn't even include resurfacing the fields, putting in new sprinkler lines, running new, the low voltage sensor wires. It's a problem. And it's not just a problem here, it's a problem throughout the state. I don't know of very many districts. We can't shoot them. You can't shoot them because you can't, discharge a weapon in the city limits. I told this story once before. I had a good friend, another facility manager over in Newcastle, who had a great idea. He said, we'll bring in a badger. Those badger hole diggers they pump water through. He pumped prairie dogs out of there till hell wouldn't have it. I mean, they captured them up, sucked them up, and pumped water in one side, sucked them up on the other side, and he took them out to the prairie and pushed them out into the prairie. He got turned into, the animal, rights people. And so, I mean, it's an issue, and I don't know what the answer is, but we have signed, we're signing contracts. I got the money together. So the contracts will be signed next week, $46,000, $45,000 and change to work on them again. It's a continuing project. It goes on from April, May, June, July, August, and September. And most people don't know this, but there is actually a limited time that you can poison prairie dogs in the state of Wyoming. You cannot just go out there and randomly eradicate them. So it's like, why? I mean, there's more prairie dogs than I've ever imagined seeing.
Is that prairie dog hunting season open down there?
Yeah, I wish, but no, I mean, I get it. I'm on board with everybody. I'm doing everything I can. We have tried every way to get rid of them, legal way. And they just keep coming back. And, I can't ask Dee Bernardi's and those guys across the street, hey, stop digging because you're creating us issues. It's creating jobs for other people. And it's, I guess, in a way, creating jobs for me too, because I'm now have a pest control guy who's on our permanent, contract list. We have, landscape guys working on the issues. So we're working on it. And I agree that some areas do need to be resodded, but I can't put sod down because then it's like feeding them. There's other issues that I have to get rid of. And I understand that, a lot of our fields, the kids use, I really do. And I don't know what to say other than we're doing everything that we can. And if somebody else out there knows a way to get rid of them, I am more than happy to sit down and buy them a cup of coffee and have, and discuss, because I am open to suggestions. This has now been going on for like 5-6 years, and we have had guys come in and guarantee to get rid of them, and come back and say, we're done. We can't get rid of them. That's how bad it is. I don't know what else to do, but I am certainly open up for suggestions.
Can we get our own permanent birds of prey? Because they disappear when something flies
Yeah.
over.
Did you know that prairie dogs are actually squirrel related? So you can eat squirrel.
I am not a bird of prey.
Just throwing that out there.
I do want to say, as a K-3 principal, it is a concern though, because like the little people do want to like pick them up and be their friend. And so, you know, you have to watch out for those kinds of things too. And I feel like Dan has done everything he can to help. And I did ask if I could bring my gun and shoot them, and he said, no, that wasn't allowed. So, you know, times have changed, and where some things might have been acceptable years ago, and even the way that they were poisoned, you know, that we have to be humane, or, you know, all of the rules that are out there kind of bind us and hold us back a little bit sometimes. But he always comes to fill in the holes. He always sends his people out to try to help. And gosh, we wish we had greener grass, but then we'll have more. So it's which issue do you want to have until we can figure out how to get rid of them the best we can. But I feel like our maintenance works very hard to try to support that.
Mrs. Bolton, you wanted to address retention as well?
Yeah, it is of concern, I think, to everybody. And as Ms. Jellicoe said, that there's going to be exit surveys. And I've had a bunch of people reach out to me actually wanting to meet with me in person, and I'm happy to do that. I'll be sending out a schedule for people to sign up for times. But I've been in this role for 7 years. And I came into this role when it had been separated and it was brought back together. That's when I got the job, because we went into massive budget cuts. This is not an excuse when I tell people what we've gone through along with other districts. Education got annihilated. This is before COVID. The budget cuts alone, and having to, I mean, when you have first, second, and third year teachers that aren't continuing contract, that they're really nervous and don't know if they're going to keep a job. So what do? They jump ship somewhere they think that's going to be more stable. And do you blame them? I don't. More and more budget cuts kept coming in. I cannot tell you the amount of tears that happened behind closed doors trying to figure this out, because every time we had to cut, you know who that affects? It hurts people, and we are destroying people's lives. And there are hard decisions that have to be made, but it takes a long time for a school culture to be built. And that means it needs to stay stable. How many schools have we closed? How many forced transfers have we had to make for teachers to be moving everywhere that have to start over? And when we combine schools, it takes years to get them cohesive and combined. And when I need certain certified positions at a school because I need some experience, I have to force transfer people, and that's not fun. This education as a whole, we had a small window where educators were heroes during COVID, and boy, did that go downhill real quick. And all I could say is, who in the heck wanted to go into education with the attacks that were happening? And so we worked together to try to keep that morale up. And there are definitely deficits in schools in the district, areas that we need to look at, by all means. But we have had a full-on attack battle that we have been dealing with for years. And when you don't know if you're going to have a stable job and you have a wife or a husband and kids that you need to support, I promise you, we told the state over and over and over, and we advocated telling them, we are going to have a mass exit of teachers and we are not going to get them back. And guess what happened? We had a mass exit of teachers from the state of Wyoming. Cheyenne, by the way, we've never gone to a job fair, by the way, and only talked to one teacher. I don't know where that came from. Our principals have worked their tails off there, but I'm going to tell you what, Cheyenne's never had a problem filling teaching jobs. And when they have 65 and 70 openings, you know that we're hurting. The minute Utah raised their base and matched ours, and we got our cost of living not just stopped, they took it back, right? Millions and millions of dollars that we had to cut. I'm sorry, I'm young and I want to go to a professional basketball game. They got Tarjay. And you have to want what Rock Springs has to offer. And Rock Springs is a beautiful place, but it's not for everybody. And so we have to be competitive. And I feel for the first time, we're starting to kind of get our feet under us. And so we can look at all these turnover rates and stuff, and we need to listen to why people are leaving, because some people just wouldn't talk because it wasn't anonymous. And we have to reflect on that. But people can't forget what education's been going through the last 7 years. This is the first year, I guess last year really was the first year that I've been in this position that we haven't had to make massive cuts. You know, people look at our scores. When you have to combine schools, there's just a lot that goes into this, and our staff work their tails off, and I want to thank them. I want to thank them. I know that education gets attacked, but I'm going to say it, and I've said it before. Education is a triangle. It is a family, it is the student, and it is the school. And the minute something is broken in that triangle, it is an uphill battle to get that kid to where they need to be. And the school's not innocent, and neither are the parents, and neither is the student necessarily. And sometimes a lot of times it's heartbreaking what we have to deal with to get a student just to be fed and feel safe, and learning is not the priority. So remember that. It's not just education. Do we play a huge part in it? Absolutely. Are we innocent? No. There's a triangle here, and it takes all of it. It takes all of them. So please remember that we are a team and we need to work together. And I appreciate what Mr. Fagel says. What can we do to do that? It's going to take everybody. We don't want to shut down bathrooms, but when we have kids that it's not even a second thought to go in and rip the doors off, you guys, this is what we battle every single day. Love them, love the kids, and that's why we're here. And our staff work so hard. So I would implore people to say thank you to them when you see them.
Chair Jellicoe, if I may.
Please.
I think one final thought, and I appreciate everybody staying where we're after, but the conversations are good. And the direct feedback, thank you very much for that. I've kept notes on all of the ideas and ways to improve our school district. The direct feedback and being involved is where it happens. But a social media platform where you're bashing other people, you're bashing the staff, bashing one another, kids are watching that, and we're not going to make positive change that way. So I really appreciate everyone that's here. Reach out to us, send an email, give me a phone call. I'll always call you back. I always will. But that's how we can move our district forward. But I haven't read one single place that ripping each other apart makes a community better. And I know we can do much better than what we're doing when we work together than what's been going on. I appreciate everybody being here. And our staff is number one. Thank you. Carol.
Cole has something to say.
May I add to
Oh,
that
go
real
ahead.
quick?
Sure, Mr. Wright.
Superintendent McGovern, you stole some of my thunder. I'm just kidding. I really genuinely want to say something. I want to say thank you for the people that have showed up tonight. You guys have had positive, constructive criticism that, there's not a single person here, including Superintendent McGovern, that don't think we could do things better. So we're here to listen to what we can do better, but it has to come in the right light. Mrs. Baird, I want to thank you. Thank you for coming with a solution to a problem and not just complaining about problems. It's these solutions, it's this positive interaction, it's this interface that we need. And I want to say something about this board that I can speak to. Every single board member has students in this district. So if you don't think we're here to do what's best for the students, then we're not doing what's best for our own children. And obviously that's not true. So we're very much here to do the right thing. And the reason that we're having these meetings like we did the other night and like we're doing, and we will continue to do more of, we're dedicated to do this as a board, is because we want to make positive change. But as Superintendent McGovern said, it's a culture to be able to make progress. And a toxic culture is not going to make progress. So thank you for coming here to the right avenue and doing this in the right way. And then the last thing I want to say, I said this the other night, but I just want to highlight it one more time. The only thing more important to me than our student and staff's education and experience is that they come home safely. I think that's true for anybody in their jobs and everything. And I just really, really, really want to recognize our district, our staff, the high school SRO sitting there who single-handedly for at least a few minutes dealt with the scare that we had the other day at the high school. You know, the bottom line is we want our kids to come home safely. We want our spouses, our family members to come home safely. And if the actions of the district and our first responders didn't prove that to you the other day, I don't know what will. So thank you, guys.
There we go. We know how busy everyone is. And so we appreciate you taking the time to be here. Those of you that are online, we appreciate the time that you're taking. Questions have been great. We hope we've clarified some myths and tried to give you as much information as we possibly can. Please, we are open. You know, our emails are on the website for board members. We want to be responsive. And if you have suggestions, by all means, we'd like to hear those too. Especially if you have suggestions, because we know that we're a community that is going through change. Many of our jobs have been restricted. We don't know all that's going on behind closed doors in many cases. And we know we have students that need help. You know, not just an education, but they are in need of help. They need to be feeling safe. They need to be fed. I mean, and the schools have become the source of a lot of that. And those of you that are here tonight, thank you for taking the time. Those of you online, thank you for taking the time. And please keep, you know, we're welcome. We'll welcome anything, and we will try to be very clear about workshops in the future. But you know, it's we've got a new board. I believe that they are all dedicated to doing the right thing, and we're trying to move forward in a positive direction. Thank you so much. Carrie, Angelica, would you like to say anything?
Just a huge thank you. It does take time, and especially when we have 7 trustees, when you have a larger board, it takes time. We can't change things overnight and move as fast as we want. I mean, we all would want to change things by tomorrow, but it's just not going to happen. Looking at even just your council, from your cities to your county commissioners, that's why it takes so long, because you have so many people you're trying to move in one way and to vote one way. So please be patient. We are doing our best, and thank you everybody for coming.
I just piggyback on everyone and say, I would just piggyback on everyone and say thank you for coming. I also see a lot of familiar faces that I saw during election time. So I appreciate the fact that you guys are just continuing to keep coming back, asking questions, fielding more information to do what's best for kids at the foremost and for the staff and the community and the district. So thank you.
Danielle, are you still there? No. Apparently not. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.